My name is Michael Ruggio. I'm the Executive Director of Rhode Island Jobs. And I'm here in strong support of Representative Mados' bill in opposition to Representative Mados and Representative Mados' bill. I believe they're 5155 for Maldonado, 5093 for BC, and 5094 for Maldonado. There are several reasons that we can state our opposition to it. As an organization, we represent more than, Jobs Justice has more than 45 separate organizations who have majority immigrant populations attached to them. Each one of them represents a strong value add to our community, but it's beyond the economic measure that I think is really important when we approach these bills. Creating secure communities is a benefit to all working people in Rhode Island, and to create or to stabilize our neighborhoods not only does it disservice to our economy, it does a disservice to our social standing as human beings. For Rhode Island to be attractive for business, if we want to put a purely economic metric on this, for us to be attractive to business, we have to be a state that is a welcoming state. When you look at the state of where visas are for high-tech workers or high-skilled workers, many of them are foreign-born and come here. And if the state presents a place where they can be challenged by a private citizen to produce papers or be deported, or have their children get challenged by teachers in a school, is not only not welcoming to an industry that should find a welcoming state, it sends a very, very clear message that we are, in fact, closed for business and not hoping for business. So that's on the economic measure. On the social measure, the promise of danger attached to this bill is not insignificant and not something that should be overlooked. Representative Corbese's bill literally places families in danger. It places a culture of impunity on the treatment of our neighbors. We are all human beings first, regardless of what lottery we were born in, what country we were born in. To turn neighbor against neighbor, to encourage teachers to turn people in, to encourage other officials with the threat of penalty to report on the people they encounter during the course of the day is the least neighborly possible position for a state that should pride itself in our neighborliness. We have witnessed over the past few years a serious coarsening and hardening of our culture towards people of color and towards visitors and towards low-wage workers and towards the poor in general. When we further isolate these communities, we remove their ability to negotiate for better positions, we restrict their ability to form collective bargaining agreements, we restrict their ability to participate in the full economic life of Rhode Island. The contributions that the immigrant community makes to Rhode Island is undeniable. As I look at a table full of names of people whose families did not come here, were not native born here. As I look at a building that was made by people who are not born here, we need to keep this in mind. We don't need to look at the example of the saint inside a dreamer, and we don't need to look at the example of the devil of a criminal. We need to look at normal, working people who create mistakes, who also create wonderful beauty and strength and build our economy. We can give many examples of crimes that are committed by every population. In fact, the rate of hate crimes against Latin-born people or South American-born people have increased tenfold in the past 90 days. Those names aren't listed. We don't have Terry Gorman producing pictures of the victims of those crimes, like the two gentlemen in Boston who had their heads smashed in with a pipe for being undocumented. When we create a culture that rewards punishment and rewards isolating a single population, we are recreating a Jim Crow structure in our state. Is that what we desire? Is that the intent of the bill? I think we need to ask ourselves, as Rhode Islanders, and as representatives, and as human beings, do we want to stitch together a community that is resilient and strong and welcome, or do we want to tear apart the fabric that holds us all together? This is a serious issue. This bill, before, we felt we could ignore bills like Representative Corbese's. In this new climate, we can't take that luxury anymore. Children are not going to school for fear of transport. Workers are afraid to go to work. Employers are using this opening to exploit, and we need to welcome people and not close our door, both for the sake of our economy, but also for the sake of our humanity. If we look at the way that bills like this are going to be viewed 10 years down the line, 15 years down the line, look to our examples of history that we have from our state, but also nationally and worldwide. Have nations that have closed their borders and closed their hearts to the visitor been lifted up in the history books? Can we give examples of closed societies that have been produced art or science that is something meaningful? Can we look to economies that have been shut off as places where development, growth, and robust life is lived? We can't. We can't. We can look to closed societies and we can point to their stagnant economies, their stunted intellectual growth, their dearth of art, their dearth of beauty. We have that here if we choose it, but we have to make the choice to be welcome and open and reject bills and reject laws and reject attitudes that would isolate, restrict, hide, and force underground our neighbors, our friends, co-workers, our partners, our children.